All right, guys. My name is AGK. I traveled to Texas, far away from home, for a brief project. Actually, it's not a brief project; it's a long time project. So, anyways, that's by the way. It's a story for another. So, I've spent about 2 weeks or more in Texas, and I don't like eating outside. So, on this fateful day, say Saturday morning, I thought the best for me to prepare some stuff. So I went to an African store. The name of the store is Wazobia. It's in Houston, Texas. So I went there. I bought all these food items. So my plan was to make okra soup. So okra soup, you will need ugu, you need ogbono, you need onions, you need red oil, you will need ground pepper and crayfish. So I bought all these things. I came home, unpacked everything, put all my Maggi inside a glassware, covered it to secure it in one place so that it doesn't stay in the plastic bag. Okay. By the way, please subscribe to this channel and watch more of my videos. And most of the videos I'll be sharing with you will be spending time in Houston, Texas. I plan to do a lot of things. For example, I plan to go to the museum. I plan to go to Italian restaurants. I plan to go to medical centers. I plan to visit a lot of places. By the way, while I was out on this day, I went to Walmart as well. While shopping for meat, there was a video advert going on. So I waited for them to be done with the video coverage, at the meat section, but that was taking too long. I'm like, if I stay here, I don't know when they are going to end. So I decided to go behind the scene to pick up the meat. So in the process, I was captured. So look forward to seeing me in a video in the future. Anyways, back to what I'm doing. So currently, I'm trying to prepare the food raw materials, put them in containers to preserve them, and also to stay very, very, very much arranged. I like my house so arranged, very organized. So what I'm basically doing is organizing all the food raw materials. Then from there, I will take the ones that I need. So I'm unpacking the pepper. This pepper, I think I bought it for like $6 plus. Buying stuff in African stores are pretty much expensive, but that's the only way you can get stuff that you, you can cook and feel like you are in Nigeria. So, but the things there were really fresh. I saw ugu. Of course, I bought ugu. I saw bitter leaf. So this ugu was going for like $12. You know, Meanwhile, it was based on pound, but you can see the stalk of the ugu. They are really thick. The leaves are few, so much of the weight will be on the ugu stalk. By the way, but it's better than not having anything. There were other leaves that I could have used, but I thought since I already have Ogo, money shouldn't be the problem. After all, it's just $12. So this is $12 Ogo. I can't remember the last time I did this kind of stuff. Maybe when I was in school, maybe my year two or final year. Actually, my year two. You know. By the way, I rarely ate outside when I was in college. I rarely ate outside when I was doing my youth service. I cooked virtually everything that I ate in college. The only time I went out to eat with my friends in a Buka was on our last examination. Everybody was excited. Everybody was chilling out outside. So, and at the same time, we were very, very hungry because we took our last paper that day. That was thermodynamics, I believe, either thermodynamics or fluid mechanics, and the course was very, very hard. So everybody came out from the examination hall super hungry. So I was with my friends. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Gabriel. And we went to Buka, and then we bought food. When I went for youth service in Bayelsa, I served in Kayama camp of Bayelsa State. It was fun, but then I was posted to Agbere Ndoni School. It's a secondary school, so they gave me an apartment over there. And the first night I spent in the place, I was told to go buy food. I said, okay. That was about 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. thereabouts. So I went out to a buka, bought food. Man, I couldn't imagine what I was eating. I wasn't used to the food sold in Kayama. They have their own special um, food. So that night I said I wasn't going to buy food again. So I had to cook. So anytime I travel out of Kayama, I have to buy, all the food materials, come back, prepare food, and eat. Any day I cannot eat, I could eat snacks. That was how I spent my 1 year in the camp. Anyways, back to what. So now I'm putting water into the pot. So you put water, you allow it to warm. Actually, you allow it to boil. I put on the expeller to make sure that all the heat and all the aroma from the food is all going out. And I bought meat, and I had chicken already marinated. So that was the meat, the red meat that I bought in Walmart, and I was captured in the video shooting. Anyways, unpacking the red meat. I don't know if this red meat was the right meat for okra soup, but that was the one I could lay my hands on. There was no bone, it was just meat, meat, meat. I like to eat meat with bones, you know, to get calcium, to also strengthen the jaws of my mouth. So my wife will always say, make sure you watch the meat, make sure you don't put plates and meat together in the sink. So shout out to her. That was where I got that. So I had to put salt to make sure that any bacteria, you know, that could be killed, terminated by salt, you know, is all out. Anyways, I would say cook the meat. The meat is a lot, so I wasn't planning to put all the meat in the soup. I wanted to wash and cut out the quantity that I will use. So the camera, what's going on with the camera? It should be the other way around. Okay. So I got the knife, started cutting the meat to smaller chunks. Anyways, the company that I'm working with, they gave me this apartment. It's all furnished apartment. It has 2 bedrooms, well furnished, kitchen utensils, came with complimentary car. Anyways, I will show you the house later on in the video. So, cutting the meat into little small sizes. So I've lived in California for a long time, and coming to Texas was a very new experience for me. Even though I've been in Texas when we moved down to the United States in 2016, I came to Houston, that very day to look for a job. After spending 2 weeks at home not doing anything, I thought I should go out there and get a job. So that fateful day, I boarded Greyhound bus, from Dallas, Fort Worth, and it brought me down to Houston downtown. That day, I started walking the entire city, not really entire city of Houston, anyways, but most part of the downtown. going from company to company, asking them, "Hey, do you guys hiring? Are you? Do you want to interview me?" Everybody was looking at me strangely, and those that had courage to talk to me told me that, "Hey, go check on the internet, you know, and if there is any job there, apply for that." So I was moving. That was real job hunting, like we did back in Nigeria, going from company to company, submitting CV, asking companies whether they are hiring. So that was what I tried to do in Houston. But United States is a different environment. You don't go door to door, asking people, asking HR, asking businesses whether they're hiring. I mean, you can do that for an experience, but I don't think that will yield you any results. So the best thing is to go on the internet, look for the companies where you think you are best fit in, and check their recruitment section, see if there's any job that matches what you can do. Then apply. Then you can call the company, ask them to transfer you to HR. You can tell the HR person that you apply for this job, that they should watch out for your CV, and if they think that your CV meets the requirement for interview, they should call you just to keep in touch. Let somebody know that you applied, that you are not um, one of those that who just throw in CV just for throwing CV and all that. So it kind of gives the vibe that you are really interested in the job. Anyways, I'm done cutting the meat, and I think I cut half of the meat, so not everything. So I've already cut the quantity that I need for the okra soup. You know. So the next thing I did was to put the remaining meat that I wasn't going to use for the soup on a plate and put inside the freezer section of the refrigerator. Okay. You have to wash off things as you make use of them. One of the kitchen etiquette. My wife didn't teach me this. I knew this by myself because I don't like messy things. Yeah, okay. I think she taught me to clean up the sink if I cut meat. To her, meat could come with some bacteria, some germs that may not, want to you may not want to mix up with plates, with dishes. So clean up the sink first. Use soda, use detergent and sponge to wash off those meats water, and run clean water down the drain. So next is for me to cut the ugu. So I'm placing everything that I needed to use to cook the soup. All right. So the ugu I'm cutting, some people like to cut it very, very tiny. I like crunchy, vegetables when I'm eating my soup. So I didn't bother to cut its tinier strands. I think it was just a one round of cutting that I did. Some other persons might cut the first round, put everything together, you know, um, cut it again, put everything together, cut it again, put everything together, cut it again until they achieve the size of ogo that they want. But for me, I cut it just one time. It also saved me a lot of time because there are so many other things that I could do. I could cut the ogo, I could cut the okra soup, and this was about 1 o'clock or a few minutes after 1 o'clock, and I had somewhere I wanted to go at 2 o'clock. So time was of essence. Anyways, so the ogo cutting was in progress. I was actually enjoying cooking. And one of the things I enjoyed about cooking this particular day was the fact that, it was just only me, number one. Number two, I was I was preparing the food. I was washing up the dishes. Everywhere was clean. Everywhere was sparkling. And the fact that I have to make this video as well. And I also wanted to make sure that I use the right, tool in the kitchen to prepare this meal. I'm not a good cook, so don't think that, it's my thing. I don't think it's my thing, but I did this cooking because I was really hungry and nothing was in the fridge and nobody was supposed to save me. And the place that you could buy food in an African restaurant, I don't really like going to restaurants. So I like homemade food. That's why I decided to prepare this one. So I think everything was going nice and easy for me. The ugu has been cut, and next thing for me is to, yeah, before the next stuff, I wanted to wash off everything that I used. So the meat is cut, okay, the ugu is cut. Next was to cut the okra and pepper. Unfortunately, I didn't have grinder to grind the pepper, so I resorted to cutting it. So the okra is in a sieve, running fresh water. Yeah. One of the greatest mistake you could make doing this is after touching the pepper and you put your finger in your eyes. That could be disastrous. So I carefully avoided, reaching out to my face throughout the process. Even after cutting the pepper, even after washing my hands, I didn't want to and bring it close to my face because you never can tell. There could be some other tiny particles of pepper cell on your fingertips, and that could cause a lot of damage. So the okra cutting was very, very easy. It was a soft and a fresh okra. And the first step was to slice it, longitudinally, then start cutting it, by the sides. So you see what I did there? Yep, yep. Houston is a very nice place, though humidity is super high compared to California. California, we don't usually get rain in a year, maybe just a few times. Sometimes it could rain heavily, maybe like 1 week, 2 weeks, and that's it for the year. And and when it rains, there's no thunderstorm, there is no lightning, just falls. Then the humidity in California is also very, very low. Most times it's about 0%. And what that means is that we don't get to sweat. We don't usually sweat in California, you know. But Texas is really, 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 really humid and it rains. When it rains very hard. Since I came to Texas, even though it's not the rainy period, but the day I went to Dallas, I drove to Dallas 2 weeks ago, actually a week ago. I drove to Dallas from Houston. That was about 4 hours drive. I got somewhere and it started pouring, and it was a heavy downpour. That kind of rain that you don't see too far. You just got to slow down and weather it off. So that was the first baptism of rain, or baptism of yes, you have arrived Texas, because of course I hear about rainfalls, thunderstorm, flood, and everything about Texas and all that. But it's not yet the season. But that very day, it really rained. Okay, so, but that was okay. So, humidity here is super high. It's hot sometimes, in the current season, but there will be a time, I think from July or August, September, they say it usually gets very hot. There was a time I visited Houston. That was maybe July, August ish. I I came out from the airport. It was like I was standing in front of an oven that has baked something for like 1 hour, 2 hours. It was as if they poured like avalanche of hot air right in front of me. I was like, what's going on? What is this? So the experience was similar to to Dubai. Dubai is very hot, high humidity, you know, and it's like a coasting hot air coming right into your face, you know. Anyways, I'm going to continue the video. Well, let's take a very short break. Okay.